Good morning, my dear students. Welcome to the chemistry class. And today I'll discuss the atomic models. Okay. So here it is written that atomic model will discuss. The first successful atomic model was given by J.J. Thomson. After discovery of electron and protons, J.J. Thomson gave this palm pudding model of the atom. In this model, an atom is a sphere of uniform charge. Here you see, this is sphere of uniform positive charge. Okay, and the electrons are embedded. Okay, like palm in pudding. Okay, you can consider a water lemon, and that water lemon seeds are like electrons. Okay, so these seeds are evenly distributed in the red spongy mass of the water lemon. Okay, so this is nothing but this palm pudding model. Okay, what we are discussing here. So these are the seeds, these are the electrons, and this is the red spongy mass. Okay, that is the sphere of uniform positive charge. Hope you can understand. So the total positive charge in this case will be equal to the total negative charge, so that an atom is an electrically neutral. Okay, but this model could not explain the experimental facts, and that is why it is rejected. Next come the Rutherford's atomic model. Okay, before that Rutherford did some scattering experiment that I will discuss, and that is also led to the discovery of the nucleus. So in the year 1911, Lord Rutherford performed some scattering experiment to know the arrangement of the fundamental particles within an atom. So already we have discovered the electron and protons, how they are arranged. So he bombarded a very thin sheet of gold. Okay, and he chose gold because it is highly malleable. Okay, and the thickness of the gold foil was 0.004 centimeter, and he bombarded this gold foil with alpha particles. Okay, from a radioactive source. Okay, now all of you know that radioactive elements or radioactive substance always emits alpha, beta and gamma rays. Okay, and now what is the observation of this experiment? Our first observation was that 99.9% of the particles passed undeflected through the gold foil. If we draw the structure, then you can easily understand. The Rutherford scattering experiment. Okay, Rutherford scattering experiment. So this is the atom, and here nucleus is there, and what is happening when you are passing this alpha ray, maximum alpha ray pass without any deflection, so 99%, and very small, okay, very small amount of alpha particles were slightly deflected from their straight path when this going through this nucleus, and slightly deflected like this. Okay, and next observation was that very few, that means about 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 20,000, okay, alpha particles were either deflected, okay, backwards, that means 180 degree, or very large angle, more than 90 degree. So some alpha particles, okay, large angles, or just after hitting it, okay, it is coming back to this original position, that means 180 degree. Okay, now what is the conclusion of this experiment? Since a large number of alpha particles pass through this atom, that means gold foil, without any deflection, okay, hence the maximum space of the atom is empty. Okay, when the space will be empty, definitely there will be no deflection of the alpha particle. Okay, so this is your first conclusion. Okay, and second conclusion we can tell, as some of the alpha particles slightly deflected, therefore there must be something massive positively charged present in the atom. Okay, which reflects the positively charged alpha particle, and the charge of that mass will be maybe also positively charged. Okay, and since the number of alpha particles which get deflected is very small, therefore whole positive charge in the atom is concentrated in a very small space, and some of the alpha particles just reflected that 180 degree or its original position, very few. Okay, and from there we can tell that it is these alpha particles are actually hitting that particular concentrated mass. That is why, as a result, okay, after collision they are going the backward, that means more than 90 degree angle, and the positively charged heavy mass which occupies only a small space as compared to the total space occupied by the atom is called nucleus. So Rutherford in this way discovered the nucleus, and it is supposed to be that nucleus is present at the center of the atom. Okay, next we will discuss the Rutherford's atomic model. Rutherford's atomic model. So according to the Rutherford, okay, every atom consists of two parts. One is called nucleus and another is called extranuclear part. So one is called nucleus and another is called extranuclear part. And all of you know that nucleus is present at the center and extranuclear part means it is outside the nucleus. Okay, so nucleus, it is in the middle of the atom and it contains proton, so it is positively charged. Okay, if we draw the diagram, then you can easily understand. This is nucleus and here is electrons. Okay, and this is called nucleus. Okay, and now the whole mass of the atom is concentrated in the very small space, that is called nucleus, and its size will be around 10 to the power minus 12 to 10 to the power minus 13 centimeter. If we consider the atomic size, okay, that will be the angstrom level, 10 to the power minus 8 centimeter. Hope you can understand. Now we discuss the extranuclear part. It is the space that surrounds the nucleus and contains the negatively charged electrons which are revolving around the nucleus in a certain orbit. Okay, in a circular path. That circular path is called this is called orbit. Okay, and the total number of this electron, okay, in the extranuclear part is equal to the total number of the positive charge or proton present in the nucleus. In nucleus there is proton, okay, and outside the electrons are revolving around the nucleus, and total charge of the electron is equal to the total charge of the proton. That is why an atom is chemically neutral. Now there is some problem regarding the stability of the Rutherford model. Before that, we will discuss how Rutherford explains his stability of this model. Okay, actually Rutherford model, atom is comparable to the solar system. Okay, the nucleus represents the sun, and whereas the electrons are represents the planets revolving around the sun. Okay, and actually when this electron is rotating and at the center there is positive charge, definitely there will be one Coulombic attractive force. So there is one attraction, and outward another force is acting, that is called centrifugal force. Okay, so this centrifugal force which arises due to the rotation of the electron, okay, around the nucleus, okay, and which is this outward force, that means centrifugal force. This one is centrifugal force. Centrifugal force. And the force acting towards the center, attraction force, This is called centripetal force. This also you can tell that Coulombic force of attraction. These two forces are balanced each other. Okay, that is why the electron is not falling inside the nucleus. In this way, Rutherford explained the stability of his atomic model. But later, okay, according to the classical physics, the drawback of this theory came. According to the classical physics, okay, if a charged particle under acceleration, okay, definitely it will radiate some amount of energy. That means when this electron is revolving around this nucleus, as electron is a charged particle, so according to classical physics, it will release some amount of energy when it is rotating. And so what will happen? That the electron slowly release the energy. Okay, suppose here is the electron and here is the nucleus, and when it is rotating around the nucleus, what will happen? Slowly it will release the energy and finally it will fall, okay, inside the nucleus. Hope you can understand. And so this model is not correct. The Rutherford model is not correct. Okay, and in this way we can tell that the Rutherford's atomic models fail to explain the stability of an atom. Okay, and to remove this drawback, next atomic model theory was given by Niels Bohr. That is also called Bohr's atomic model. Bohr's atomic model. Okay, in the year of I think 1913, okay, Bohr gave his atomic model by modification of this Rutherford atomic model. The main postulates of these Bohr's atomic models are the electrons revolving around the nucleus are confined to certain fixed orbits called cells or energy levels, and each cell energy is fixed. Okay, so this is the nucleus and the electrons are revolving, okay, around this nucleus in a certain circular orbit, and this is called cell. Okay, or we can tell it as energy levels. Now, whole electrons, that all electrons, just here we are considering one electron. So when one electron is revolving in a particular orbit around this nucleus, okay, it will not lose energy and it will not gain energy. According to classical physics, it is telling that if a charged particle rotates, definitely it will lose some amount of energy, and that is why Rutherford's atomic model is not stable. But according to Bohr, when the electron is rotating around this orbit, it will not lose energy or it will not gain energy. So this type of orbitals are called, or sorry, this type of orbits are called the stationary orbits. Okay, so Niels Bohr gave the concept of stationary orbit, and the energy level or cells are designated either by numbers. You can give it 1, okay, or you can write the letters K cell. Here n is equal to 1, it is indicating that K cell. If next cell, then it will be n is equal to 2, then we can tell is L cell. So in this way we can write that we can represent the energy level or this cell as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or we can write by letters like K, L, M, N. Okay, next will be the M. Okay, M cell, then N cell. In this way, okay, we have to remember or we have to name the orbit. Hope you can understand. Okay. Next, each energy level is associated with a definite amount of energy, and the cell nearest to the nucleus, that means this K cell, okay, it has minimum energy. Hope you can understand. And when you are going to the farthest, okay, so then it is the maximum energy. So that means when you are considering an electron in the K cell, its energy is minimum, and then you are going to L, M, N, O in this way, definitely what will happen? The energy will increase. Okay, and there is no change in the energy of electron as long as the electrons are revolving around this energy level. Hope you can understand. And when an electron will absorb some amount of energy, definitely it will jump from lower energy level to the higher energy level. When an electron is absorbing some amount of energy, okay, it will go from lower energy level to higher energy level. But the electron emits the energy, definitely it will go from higher energy level to lower energy level. Okay, and in this way electron transitions occurs. Okay, there is one equation is there, that is E2 minus E1 is equal to H nu. That is, it is coming from the Planck's equation. Hope you can understand. So finally we are drawing this atomic model properly. So this is your nucleus, and after this nucleus, this is your first cell, and this is denoted by n is equal to 1, and it is called K cell. After that, you will get n is equal to 2, that is L cell. Then after that, n is equal to 3, that is the M cell. After that, n is equal to 4, that is called KLM cell. So in this way, okay, electrons will be arranged around the nucleus. So here will be electron, and next we will discuss when we discuss the arrangement of electrons in different orbits, then you can understand. So this is your K cell, that you can tell that first energy level, and this is your second energy level, this is your third energy level, this is your fourth energy level, and this one is the nucleus. Okay, so that is all about the Bohr's atomic model. Hope you can understand. Next we will discuss the neutrons, okay, or discovery of neutrons. Discovery of neutrons. Okay. Scientists already discovered the electrons and protons, but the mass of atom, okay, when you are considering, it is not satisfied with the mass of electron proton. We can take one example. Suppose helium. Helium atom contains 2 protons. So its mass should be 2 AMU, atomic mass unit. But actually, originally the mass of helium mass is 4 AMU. So actually 2 proton is there and 2 electron is there. Electron mass negligible, it should be 2 mu, but it is coming 4 mu. So it is not matching with the experimental value. Hope you can understand. So definitely there must be some particles, okay, whose mass is equal to the mass of proton. Later in the year of 1932, okay, after the proposition of the Bohr's atomic model. Bohr's atomic model was proposed, okay, in the year of 1930, and Newton discovery was done by James Chadwick in the year 1932. Okay, and what he did, okay, he bombarded the light nucleus like beryllium with alpha particles. Okay, that is helium nuclei. Okay, so beryllium is that atomic number 4 and mass number 9, and we are bombarding it with helium, that means alpha particles. Okay, we are hitting it with this alpha particle, that means helium. Then what will happen? You will get neutron. Neutron is representing by 0 and 1. This 1 is indicating its mass, okay, and 0 we are writing because it has no charge, it is neutral. And with the formation of carbon, so here barium nucleus is converted to carbon nucleus, okay, and with the formation of a new particle that is called neutron, and these particles was not deflected, okay, by any magnetic field, and if you place some electric field, then there are also no deflection, okay. So it is proving that this particle is electrically neutral, and if you consider the mass, okay, its mass will be just little bit of higher compared to the mass of proton, that is 1.676 into 10 to the power minus 24 gram, okay, and it has no charge, okay, so it is neutral, and it is generally denoted by 0n1. Hope you can understand. So in this way we have completed the atomic models, okay. So today up to this, thank you.